right. Welcome to the Kingsland Referendum podcast, where we're diving into the details of the upcoming bond referendum on Tuesday, May 13th. This $11.5 million proposal addresses space for physical education during the day, a multi-purpose large group room to be used for community education and additional flexible programming, as well as locker room, a weights and fitness space, family restrooms, and storage. In this episode, we'll talk with district staff and community members about why this referendum is back on the ballot, how these improvements will benefit the entire community, and what you need to know before you vote. I'm your host, Kyle Rader, and let's meet our other guests. Becky?
Hi, I'm Becky Bickness. I am the Community Education Director here at Kingsland. I grew up in Wyckoff. I have 3 children that have all been Kingsland students, and I am happy to be here.
My name is Tally Bernard. I'm community member in the district, taxpayer in the district, and mom of 3 girls, oldest being 5 in kindergarten, the middle child's 2, and our youngest is 1 year old. I am alumni of the district, graduating in 2008, with my husband also being an alumni of the district, graduating in 2007. Honored to be here today and excited to talk about the upcoming referendum.
Hi, I'm Isaiah Minnick. I am a PE and health teacher here for 7th through 12th grade. My family is from this area, Spring Valley. My mother and father both graduated school here, so it's been awesome getting back here. Teaching here now for the last 3 years. I also coach football. I do weight room in the mornings for any student or athlete that wants to come work out Monday, Wednesday, or Friday as well.
Right on. And I'm Kyle Rader. I'm also a taxpayer in the district, a homeowner in the district. I have 3 children that attend Kingsland Public Schools. I have a 7th grader, I have a 4th grader, and I have a 2nd grader here in the school. I also graduated from Kingsland Public Schools back in 1999. I was elected to the school board in 2017, and my first term began in January of 2018. So it's been a pleasure to come back and raise my family in this district and contribute to the district as well as the community over the course of the past few years. So it's really a pleasure to be here in this role today.
Kyle, didn't we just vote on this in November? Why are we asking again?
So that's a great question, Tally, and it's an important one I think we need to address first and foremost. We undertook a maintenance survey of the district to see what the long-term maintenance goals and needs would be for our facilities over a 10-year time period. We did this to kind of better put together what a plan would look like to keep this building clean, safe, dry, and intact for our students to have a safe and appropriate place to learn each day. Part of that study showed us that perhaps we were missing some space in the physical education department that we could utilize for our students to better enhance their learning and growth throughout the school day and school year. And that led us to looking towards potentially adding not only the maintenance component, which the district citizens approved for us in November of 2024, but also some additional space for the needs that we'll address in this podcast now. The stuff that we're bringing back to the ballot in May is essentially question 2 that was on the ballot in November of 2024. And the reason we're bringing it back is because we feel that it is a need and not just a want. This is something that's actually being brought up to the public here in the Kingsland District for at least the 3rd time in the last 20 years, because this has been an ongoing need that we've tried to fulfill and unfortunately haven't been able to do so. One of the things that makes us bring this back so quickly is the fact that if we can pass this again, or pass this for the first time rather in May, it allows us to stick with the original timelines for what construction would look like, potentially starting in the summer of 2026. We feel like this would combine well with the maintenance referendum that was passed in November, and it would allow us to begin and continue to work on these projects with our construction and building colleagues into the future on more of a continual basis. So not only will we be keeping the facilities we have in excellent condition, but we will be adding these new facilities which we can continue to maintain for our students, our district, and our community long into the future. Another additional question here, because some of this does revolve around physical education space, which typically gymnasiums are utilized for that type of activity. Why isn't one gym enough, Isaiah?
So when we look at our day in Kingsland, we think about starting at the beginning of the day, we have our breakfast. And breakfast, they take out all the tables, they get everything set up for the day. During the day, they don't then have spaces to move all the tables. So when our gym classes, like during our second hour, need to go in and use the cafe because elementary is in our gym and we can't share that space, it isn't big enough for a lot of the activities and games that we want to do with our students and lessons that we have planned. So our students, myself, we move the tables, we push them off to the side, and it's a space that we can use. It's not always the safest. Those tables are right on the edge. Say we're playing basketball, they're on the baseline, out of bounds. They're really close. So students that are coming in for a layup, say they're on a fast break, they go up, they make the layup, and they have to try to stop themselves as quick as they can. It's just one example. It also is another space where the high school does have to go and use that side. We couldn't ask the elementary school to have their second graders during that hour go help move the tables too. And that makes it hard when we have days like blood drives where they use the gym for the whole entire day. So during the whole entire day, yeah, they curtain off half the gym, but we're still not allowed to go in there because we need to keep the noise down for the people that are donating their blood, which totally makes sense. You don't want loud noises, things banging around back in the other side of the curtain. And when that happens, we can't use the cafe. Well, we do use the cafe with the elementary, but it is a lot smaller space. And then after we're done with that period, third hour happens, they use the cafe, and then lunch starts. So Mr. Fitz, our elementary physical education teacher, he doesn't have anywhere to go unless it's nice out, and we're in Minnesota, let's be real. Mm-hmm. The weather is unpredictable. Mm-hmm. So just that space, yes, there is that extra space, and I know it's something that's brought up a lot. Well, you do have the cafe. The cafe is used throughout our school day for a cafeteria 85-90% of the day. The other parts of the day, we have to move everything and get it set up, and that does take about 10-ish minutes every single day to take up and set back for the lunches as well.
Isaiah, I just have a question.
Yeah.
As a mom of a kindergarten student, how often is she offered physical education class during a week's time frame? How many?
Yeah, so how we do it here at Kingsland, it is every other day. So your daughter, her class, kindergarten, they have Phi Ed at the end of the day, I think 2 to 2:30. And then the next day, so say the Monday they have Phi Ed, then Tuesday they wouldn't have Phi Ed. They'd have another class. I don't really know the elementary schedule perfectly. They had another class, and then Wednesday they'd come back and they'd have Phi Ed. Then Thursday they'd have that other class. Then Friday they would have Phi Ed again. And then the following week, they would only have it on Tuesday and Thursday. So there are always Phi Ed going on in elementary. It's just opposite classes.
So at the risk of making a leading statement or asking a leading question, it sounds like dedicated space for physical education would be a fairly significant benefit.
I think it would be a great benefit for our school, not just with Phi Ed, with community ed. There's things that community ed has to do where they come in and they need to use the gym. So for Phi Ed, we do move and let community ed use it during our school day. I mean, it's not just for Phi Ed here at our school. With that one space, I think we counted out like there's 22 or 25 days that the gym is used for something else during the school day, during our school year. So almost a month where a Phi Ed teacher's classroom isn't their classroom.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for that information. Absolutely. Becky, what about some of the other spaces in the proposal?
Well, one of the spaces that is in the proposal is a community classroom, which really, basically what that is a extra large classroom that is a blank space. So with that classroom, what we could do with it is it would be able to be set up in multiple different ways. So that way we could set up tables for a 55 Alive class that could happen during the school day. That's one of the things that we can't do right now for our older population is having those classes during the day when they don't feel comfortable driving. That's one of the things that for us to be able to have a class during the day when every inch of our building is used all day long, it's just not possible.
You're saying they don't feel comfortable driving at night?
At night.
Oh, because classes are held at night here. Okay.
Yes, because there's just no space during the day. And so that's one of the frequent questions that I get all the time is, well, can't we hold these during the day? No, we really can't. And then I've had questions a lot about having different exercise classes, not even for the older population, but just for adults. Well, we really don't have a large enough space to hold those because our gym spaces are always busy with high school athletics in the evenings and stuff. So having a large empty space, we could hold some adult workout classes and things like that in that space. So just basically having a large empty room that could be multi-purpose used, putting up tables, taking them down. So it could be really the opportunities would be endless by just literally having 4 blank walls. We could do so much stuff with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and when a community makes an investment like this, I think they want to, and I think you've already emphasized this really well, but they want to make sure that these facilities are going to be used to their maximum capabilities. You know, do you have any thoughts on how these facilities could be used in the summer, how they could be used on the weekends, et cetera, to both serve the school and the greater community?
Well, I was going to say, right now, our building literally never sleeps. As a person that schedules our building, our facility, literally 7 days a week, we have activities going on in this building. And we could literally do so much more even with, if this was to get voted through and we had the extra space, we could potentially facilitate so many more different activities that we have been approached to have different tournaments and things like that on the weekends and things like that we could be able to host more things here at home. So I mean, it would be a great opportunity to have more activities here at home, here in our community, for our community.
And Becky, when you say activities, things that come to mind for me would be like robotics club, potentially, dance competition we could be hosting. There's a lot of possibilities when you say activities, just not to go down the avenue of sports, but I feel like there's other things out there.
Yeah, there is. And I was going to say, and even having just that large empty room, that's definitely something that we have discussed, because like right now, robotics really doesn't have a specific home that they can really get their robot out and experiment with. That large room would be a space that they could get their robot out in and take it out for a spin and really use it before they go to competitions. So I mean, there's so much potential.
Well, and with one of your groups, the community ed, the Junior Nights,
Yes.
Right now they're practicing, I believe, in the choir or the band room, and they could have some more space in which to practice as well.
Yes, and unfortunately right now, because of the band room, when there's concerts and things like that, they get canceled, or things like pep band, they have to end early. If they have a designated space, they'd be able to, keep a more consistent schedule. And because there's 69 girls that dance in the Junior Night at Dance program between preschool and 6th grade. So, I mean, they have a very good following. And I can just see the program keep growing.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. So I think, a theme I've heard both of you sort of talk about here is that we've really been working hard to kind of make do with the facilities we have for quite a while. And I think we've done a really good job of doing so. One of the things that has been an unfortunate victim of that process is the fact that several years ago, the weight room got moved onto the stage. And thereby the stage was lost as a performance spot for bands, choirs, our drama clubs, etc. To use that. Graduation was another place we used the stage. I know I walked across the stage way back in 1999. So that's another thing we would reclaim in this project. We would reclaim the stage and hopefully be able to give it back to its rightful owners, if you want to use that term. We would have we would build a new weight room and move the weights off the stage and hopefully be able to return the stage back to a workable condition that was suitable for all of those clubs and their activities. Moving on to the next topic there would be, the whole topic of strong schools equals strong communities, and strong communities equal strong schools. Do you have any feelings on that, Tally?
Yeah, I'd like to just kind of highlight a few areas that I thought stood out to me. So I think strong schools, strong community, lifelong relationships amongst students and parents, building community cohesion. And when I think of that community cohesion, I think of Isaiah, you were a big instrumental part of this, but looking back to 2023 football season, our 9-man run for the football team, I think, Kyle, you were probably in the community, Becky, you were in the community. Just the community cohesion that went around that. You'd drive around town and you'd see the signs, and I remember conversing with some of my friends like, "Hey, did you see the sign north? Did you see the sign west? Did you go east? You go south?" You couldn't go anywhere without seeing signs and people who were supporting behind that. And then just to see, when you went to US Bank Stadium, just to see the community outpouring support around that football team, I think it was a lot larger than anybody realized. So just kind of to take, reflect back on that. I don't know if you guys have thoughts about that community cohesion with that season, but really stood out to me and something that I reflect on.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I think it's very easy for communities to rally behind sports because it's a very easy to see out there, easy to follow part of the community itself. But we also have a lot of other very successful groups here at Kingsland. We have the One Act Play group. We've got that's run by the Drama Club. Robotics is a new and growing program too. And I think those are all things that are things that our kids do that our community is able to follow and take pride in and hopefully invest in the future.
Yeah, Kyle, and when you say that, I think back to last year in February. I was reading an article and I saw on there Kingsland school participant in the Southeast Minnesota final spelling bee getting second place. Mm-hmm. That's pretty neat to be able to highlight that. That's something that I didn't have interest in school, but to be able to see that represented was pretty neat too.
Well, and it's nice to know that the kids are already, they're doing so well academically too. I mean, it's again, it's one of those harder things to see. It's one of those harder things to pick out. You kind of have to go and find the stats, but we do have a lot of things to be proud of here, definitely.
Absolutely. And then a couple other things that stood out to me, supporting the local economy, population growth, business opportunities come with that. And then just the students, they develop that social responsibility and just kind of following some of the newsletters that have been put out. I looked back in October, the school had put together a community service day where the students had went out and helped different communities in the area. So I just kind of like to run down that list. It looked like 7th grade helped the city of Spring Valley with some projects. 8th grade helped the city of Wyckoff with cleanup and painting. Looked like 9th grade went to Lake Louise and Leroy, did some painting and native seed collection. 10th grade went to the Spring Valley Senior Living, did some activities with the residents there. 11th grade went to Eagle Bluff, cleaning brush and building raised beds, it looks like. And then the 12th grade went to the Preston's VA and interacted with the veterans and cleaned up the grounds and things. So I think those are great examples of the students here giving back to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that that's something that we plan on trying to continue into the future.
It was a blast. I loved it. It was a little cold, don't get me wrong, but we were picking seeds and stuff like that, and the kids right away were like, "Manic, why are we doing this?" And then we were running around having fun. Honestly, it was so awesome. It was such a fun day. I loved it.
Okay, Isaiah, you have to tell us what grade. I'm trying to put it together. What grade you were with?
I'm the advisor for the 9th grade this year, and then I'll follow them through till they're seniors. So I had the 9th grade, and we went and picked seed out at Leroy. It was a blast. It really was.
You didn't do any fishing at Lake Louise while you were there, did you?
No, we didn't. But we went there when we got done. We went and ate, and then we went on a little walk, and we went out there, and yeah, the kids, they loved it. A couple kids were like, "Yeah, let's not go in the water," and it's hard to stay away from water, I guess, but
yeah,
it was a blast.
Well, and I think it just goes to show it's really important to get out of the classroom and into the community as well. And I think that's something that, as I said, we'll continue to strive to do. Totally, because there's more to education than sitting in a desk, taking tests and reading things off of a black or whiteboard. So, yeah, absolutely. And speaking of things that are more than just sitting in a desk and kind of learning, physical and mental health is also important, both for our students and our community. Isaiah, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it really is super important for our students, not only now, but later in life. We think about a lot of our habits and things that we develop. We develop those things when we're younger. I think about when I was in school, I played sports, weight room. We talked about diet, protein. And then I went to college. I played college football. Again, weight room, diet, protein. But not just weight room, yoga. We did a lot of just like plyometrics and things like that. And when we talked about the weight room and moving the weight room and getting a space that is not only a space for our one-act plays, our choirs and band, but also a space in the weight room that is big enough for our school. That is something that really does make me excited. I help in the weight room on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. I do Mondays right now. A bunch of coaches, we all come together and we work the different days. It is not only for athletes, it is for any student that wants to go. We do have students that don't play football. Is it a lot of the football players? Yes, we want more kids in there just because it's important. It's not just lifting heavy weights. We have different programs that we work on. We've learned, we've changed things. We're continuing to change, adapt, and grow because we know how important that physical and how important that mental side of just being in a weight room is on somebody. And then when we're thinking about our students and starting physical education, we start physical education in kindergarten. We're continuing to plant those seeds as we go through all the different stages of just development. And we talk about eventually getting to an age where you start seeing students go into the weight room when we're talking about more like that physical side. And we really want to see that development and that growth starting at the younger ages, and we want to be able to get the students into the weight room in order to help show them the right way to lift so that they are safe, the right way to do a movement or an exercise. And it's not just with weights, it's with running, it's with cutting and those types of things as well. So really just having a space where the students feel safe going in there. They feel like they're not crowded. We don't have to put a group of students over here in the hallway and they're not getting as much attention because they're in the hallway because there's not enough space in the weight room for all 25 to 30 students that we have show up in the weight room in the morning. So I really think it does show the students working now like how important it is in the future, and when they feel that they have a coach or someone that really there to help support them and push them along, and honestly their teammates too, that really does help them.
So sort of planting these seeds of health and well-being at a young age may help them be stronger, longer-lasting, healthier adults into the future?
Yeah, stronger on the mental and the physical side. I mean, mental health is super important, and there's a huge studies showing that getting physical exercise helps with the mental and the physical side of your health triangle.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that.
Isaiah, did I recall this correctly, that it was within the last year that we had a past alumni that had gone on and had a business in the weightlifting?
Yeah.
And he donated, he had such a great experience as a child, kind of, getting into the weight room, and he felt like he needed to give back to the community, and he gave a donation. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head. His company is MN Muscle, and he went around to a whole bunch of schools around the area, but he came back to Kingsland and he's like, I want to donate these weights. So what he did is he took our old weights that, I don't know, they probably had since they had made it a weight room the first time.
Since like 1999, when
Yeah.
the old people graduated?
I know my dad graduated in 1996. My dad said, oh yeah, these are the same weights that we use. I use that push sled and all this different stuff. But yeah, those weights, then he took them and he donated every weight that we had, rusted old weight. He gave us brand new ones, the same weight, matching, all for free. And it shows you that impact that it had when you're younger. That willingness to give back to the community afterwards is so awesome.
And I believe it was Dan Quayle is the gentleman you're referring to. He was a year or two younger than me back in the day.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely want to thank all of my colleagues here at the table for sitting down for this interview and this podcast. You know, it's important that all the citizens in our community and in our district vote on May 13th. And no matter how you vote, I definitely want to encourage you to come to the polls informed. Obviously, this podcast is a great launching point for good information and community input as to what this project would look like and the benefits it would have. I also want to point folks to our website, kingslandbond.org. On that website, you'll be able to see a tax impact calculator where you can put in your own properties and see what the tax impact for this would look like for you, and kind of weigh that against the benefits to the community, if you would. We'd like to see every member of the community. One underrepresented group at the polls, seemingly and confusingly, oftentimes is parents. They feel that potentially time is limited to get out to the polls, or they feel like their friends are going to vote the same way they would, so perhaps they don't show up. But I would encourage everybody, no matter how you feel about this referendum, to show up and to voice your opinion. That is definitely your right, and want to encourage you to do so, just to make sure, amongst all the other things, that your voice is heard and represented. You know, the tax impact, you can't have a conversation like this without talking about tax impact. It is what it is. And I want to just run through some quick numbers for you all before we sign off from this podcast. The estimated tax impact over 25 years on a $200,000 house in this district would be $4.69 a month. And for farm acreage, which I think is important because, as we know, this is a very agricultural area, for an acre of land, this would be 4 cents per month per acre, so 48 cents for an acre per year. There is an ag-to-school credit that is funded by the state of Minnesota, which does not appear to be going away anytime soon. It appears to continue to have great support throughout the Minnesota state government, and that ag-to-school credit covers 70% of the farmer's cost for their farm, homestead, and acreage, which, if you account for the number of acres and farms in the district and the amount of revenue that would bring in, the state of Minnesota thereby would be covering approximately 39% of this total building bond referendum if passed in May. That's a pretty significant contribution overall with regards to the local tax impact and how some of the relief will be provided by the state to this area for this need. Before we sign off today, do any of my colleagues at the table have any additional comments they'd like to leave us with?
You know, Kyle, I think it's important to just share with listeners what will happen if this doesn't pass.
Well, I think the reality is, and I did speak about this briefly with the intro question I was addressing, but the reality is this has been an ask of the community. I believe this is the fourth time in approximately the last 20 to 25 years. This has been an ongoing need that we have seen within this district for that entire time. I think that there's a few things to consider. If the community says no again, I think we may have to step back and reconsider this time. Looking towards the future, you don't want to sour, your taxpayers too much by continually asking for the same thing over and over. But I'm hopeful that we've been able to present, the benefits that this would provide to the community going forward. And we would just have to, probably hold the course, for lack of a better term. But yeah, so I think the important thing is we don't want to sour the taxpayers by asking too many times repeatedly for the same thing. I think we would have to go back to the drawing board and get creative as we have in the past. I don't know how much more creative we could possibly get at this point, but, we've done it before. We could try to do it again. I think at this point in time, though, our goal is just going to be to provide the most accurate and appropriate information to as many of our taxpayers as we can to make sure that everybody who shows up at the polls is informed about what they're voting for or against. I think the important thing is that the price point at $11.5 million is only going to be open to us for a limited time. As inflation continues to rise and time continues to pass, the costs for a project like this are only going to go up, and therefore the impact to the community would only go up as well. One other thought I had is that the school student population is something that's been a concern brought up by the community in the past as well. We did do like a census survey and study for the district, and for the next 10 years, our student population is expected to remain approximately stable. So I don't think we're going to see a wild fluctuation in our student population either up or down in the next 10 years. Optimistically, if you see a community that invests in its school, perhaps we could see the student population uptick a little bit as well. That's something we will definitely keep our fingers crossed on should this pass, and as we continue to work on maintaining a strong school into the future.
And Kyle, between now and Election Day, if folks have questions, I know personally I went on the website and there is an opportunity to input questions and then they'll get back to you. And I was really surprised the response time was like less than 24 hours. So I think directing people to that website's important.
Yeah, absolutely. And that website again is kingslandbond.org. And likely if you're watching this on some sort of podcasting platform, there should be a link nearby that you can click on to direct you immediately there. And on there, again, you'll find tax calculators. You'll find frequently asked questions. If you don't see your question answered or have a more specific question, you could submit that through the website and somebody in the district office will receive that and get back to you. Also, I would encourage you to reach out to your school board members with any additional questions, as well as the district office. And we can, if we don't have the exact answer, we'd be happy to look it up for you, get back to you, or maybe even help you find it yourself, whatever is most convenient for the situation. But we're always here to help. We're always here to answer your questions, and we all look forward to continue serving the district and the greater Kingsland community. Thank you for tuning in to the Kingsland Referendum podcast. We hope this conversation has given you a clearer understanding of what's at stake and how these improvements will benefit our students and greater community. This podcast was created by Kingsland Public Schools for informational purposes only. It is not circulated on behalf of any candidate or ballot question. Remember to learn everything you can, which can start by visiting kingslandbond.org. Early voting starts on March 28th. Every vote matters. Be sure to make your voice heard on May 13th.